Good evening to one and all. I am Brinda Toshniwal, and once again, welcome to a weekly series of Fantastic Fridays on Singhania School YouTube Live, a channel of the Salonians, by the Salonians, and for the Salonians. These sessions aren't just limited to our academia, but introduce us to a vast array of subjects. Moving on with today's session, let us walk down the memory lane through a special walking talking journey. All those moments captured at the click of a button. A photograph is a special means of communication and captures within itself the reality and humanity of the moment. Adam has quoted, "You don't take a photograph, you make it." And that is only possible by having a deep passion for this art and its technical aspects. Photography is about finding something interesting even in an ordinary place. And to accomplish that, we must be aware of the different genres and aspects of photography. Finally, it is a good storyteller who excels in the art of photography, weaving and cultivating ideas in the minds of his viewers. Without wasting any more time, I now invite Sunita Prabhu ma'am from elementary section to lead us through this wonderful session titled Talking Pictures, Passion for Photography. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Vrinda. It is an immense pleasure to come before all of you and to speak about one of my many pleasures, and that is clicking pictures, that is photography. At the very onset, I would like to tell you that today we are going to learn about, or we are going to speak about talking pictures. I'm not saying taking pictures, I'm saying talking pictures, because when we talk about pictures, the pictures tell us a story. And today we are going to learn how to become a great storyteller with the help of pictures that you click. We are going to learn about photography and some of the aspects of photography through this session. Before we know about the how of photography, we have to know the why of photography. As a teacher, when we do a session on teaching during my training session, I learned that we don't directly learn what is the thing to teach or how you're going to teach it. First, we learn why we are going to teach it. It means that we should know what are the learning objectives of anything we do. Once the aim is in place, we know how to go about it and we can take the next step forward. The first thing we know about photography is that it is about sharing our stories. Why do we share stories? Man is a social animal. We like to communicate. We like to share our stories because that gives us a better understanding of the world around us. We share stories to share our joys, our pains, our sorrows. And whether we are big or small, we all love to listen to stories. Some of us are good listeners, while some of us are good story narrators. Storytelling is in our DNA. We can't just help it. We all are good storytellers. A photograph creates memories for us. Many times on Facebook, we see a picture come up and it tells us about this happened last year. As soon as we see that picture, we realize, oh, that was a wonderful moment in time. So a photograph captures moments in time and brings them back, though we can't actually revisit the past. So photographs give us a chance to revisit our past. Not only that, photographs cultivate vision. For example, if you look at the picture down, you will see that there are some people carrying water in a far off place, in a village where they have to travel for miles to gather water. When we see a picture like this, we realize how fortunate we are, and at the same time, we also develop some empathy for the persons who are not as fortunate as we are. Storytelling. Why storytelling? Because storytelling has no language barriers. For a person who is unread, who doesn't know to read or write, a photograph can tell a lot. For example, if you want to talk about health and hygiene in a village, You can do so by showing some pictures or showing posters about health and hygiene. It will not take long for them to understand them. India is a language, India is a country where we have so many languages. With, with so many languages, it becomes difficult to understand, and there may be some misunderstandings arising. So, to remove those barriers of language, we have storytelling in the form of the photographs. A photograph tells us the true emotions which are behind the picture or behind the person in the picture. They rightly say that sometimes the person in the picture can change, but the picture will not. Yes, most of us, we change our emotions, we change our attitude, but the picture which is there remains true to itself. It is very honest. A story engages the audience. The person who is viewing the picture will get involved in your story. And whether he likes it or not, he cannot be indifferent to it. He will show his emotion according to what he has seen. A picture captures attention of the audience. It makes them understand what you are talking about. And it gives them a chance to speak out of what they want to talk. A picture can make a person think. There are so many things going on around us, so many good and so many bad things. So a picture can bring the truth in front of them. Sometimes even an untruth can be brought in front of them. Whichever way it is, a person will start thinking. A story always makes us think. Story is a means of communication. Most of us people do communication in the verbal or non-verbal means. So, a picture or a photograph is a non-verbal way of communication. Why pictures? The whole point of taking pictures is so that we don't have to explain everything in the form of words. A person like me who does not want to talk will find it an easier way to click pictures and to share my story. A person who is looking at pictures understands pictures better. Why pictures? One picture is worth 1,000 words. Many complex and sometimes multiple ideas can be conveyed by a single still picture, which conveys its meaning far more effectively than verbal descriptions. For example, if you have to share a lot of data, we may use pie charts, you may use flow charts, or you may use a diagram. In the same way, one picture can be used to show a number of ideas at one go. Sometimes we also see that a picture which is there can say very little, but there may be a story hidden behind those pictures. Oh, I'm doing a lot of talking. So right now, let the pictures do the talking. Now look at this picture. If you look at it, we think it is just Mahatma Gandhi sitting at the spinning wheel. What is there to tell about this story? There's nothing interesting in this story. But this is a picture taken by Margaret White. And in this story, she went to an ashram of Mahatma Gandhi and she requested that she wanted to click a picture. They said that if you want to click a picture of the Mahatma, you have to learn to use the spinning wheel. So she had to learn, she took a few days, but she learned to use the spinning wheel. And after that, there were two more conditions. The second condition was that she was not to use harsh lights because Gandhiji did not like harsh lights. The third condition was she could not talk to him because it was his day of silence. So this one picture has such a story behind it, but it is not visible when we look at it. That is why it is very important to have the proper captions for your pictures, because sometimes a picture may not say everything in totality. We require a caption to tell us the story correctly. Another picture like this is a fun picture which you must have not seen of Albert Einstein. He was celebrating his 72nd birthday. And as you know, during birthdays, we have to pose for so many photographs. As he was posing, he was tired of smiling at the camera all the time. So at one occasion, he just stuck out his tongue. So this is a very interesting picture. The third one also looks very simple, and it looks like it is just a picture of an operation theater. But there is such a big story behind it, you know. So this was an operation that took place. It was an open heart surgery that took place for 23 hours. And after the operation, you can see that the doctor is sitting very tired. And in the corner, we can see his assistant also dozing off. The interesting part about this story is that the patient outlived this very doctor who performed the operation on him. Isn't that interesting? Okay, now let's move on to the next picture. This is a picture of guts because you can see one lone Jewish woman fighting off the Israeli soldiers who have come to evacuate them from their settlements. It is a story of upheaval. Here you can see that she is alone, yet she is ready to fight against the hordes of Israeli soldiers. Another picture we come to is the last one, which is a moving picture by Mike Wells. Here you can see the frail hands of a child who was struck by famine in Uganda. And he is held by the hand of a missionary, a white missionary. It is a very sorry tale which you can see. But as I showed you the earlier pictures also, no picture is complete without a proper caption. Now that we know the why of photography, why we are clicking is clear. We have the aim, we have the learning objective. Now we have to understand which are the different genres of photography that we can explore. There are so many genres, and the number of genres is going on increasing day by day. Nowadays, people resort, everyone has got a smartphone or everybody has got a camera. So everyone says, maybe photographer. So when you are a photographer, you should understand which type of photography you want to do. There are so many varieties like documentary, portrait, street, advertisement, that is product photography. But we are going to look at a few which are really common. If we want to do sports photography, we have to use motion blur, which will help us to do sports photography. Another very common one, which is very dear to me since I'm a foodie, is food photography. The food photography industry is really a booming one nowadays. Whenever we go for traveling to other places, the food of that particular region is quite different from the food that we eat. So it is very interesting to click a picture of that. Of course, the one which is here is not so uncommon. It is a very common one. But when we go to regional places, we have to click the pictures so that it becomes a memory. When we go to travel, we see lovely landscapes around. If we want to capture the moment, we have to just click and we can save that memory for a lifetime. This is a picture of Himachal, the highest stadium in Himachal Pradesh. The next is the macro photography. In macro photography, we try to click pictures of small things. It may be insects, it may be raindrops, something like that. Another one which is very dear to me is nature photography. Whenever we go to any sanctuary or you visit any bird park, it is a great chance to click pictures of birds and animals. The last and most important one, which you all feel, is portraits. Many of you like to be clicked and they like to pose for a portrait. Another one which I'm not a very good fan of is selfies. I do not consider them important, but nowadays that is the rage all around. I prefer being behind the camera rather than being in front of the camera. There are still a few more genres. Very interesting one is architecture. If you walk around South Mumbai, you will see so many wonderful places like these where you can see the buildings, you can see monuments, and all these capture your imagination and interest. It is a very good place for historians to go and move around. Whenever we go to any place, if there are some you can say palaces and gardens, you can see the lighting there. Photography is a very good way to capture a festival in different moods. For example, if you take a walk at Muhammad Ali Road during Ramzan Eid, you will find so many things happening there. It is abuzz with people and with food. Even if you are not a foodie and you would not like to taste the food, it is a great place to click pictures. So these are so many ways or so many genres of photography. One which is very dear to me is street photography. We think, what do we find in a street? It is so ordinary, but no. A street holds so many things of interest. Two little boys playing on the roadside. This is what I saw during my trip to Himachal. This one is just a plain but simple and interesting window, which is in South Mumbai. You can see that man sitting there. Maybe he has a phone in his hand. See the quaint little lamp at the side. See the tiling of the wall. It makes such an interesting photograph. Another one is if you go towards South Mumbai Fort area, you will see this beautiful horse, colorful horse. Or even if you go in the lanes and bylanes of Bandra, there is so much of photography, so much of color on the walls. They have pictures painted, they have graffiti there, they have murals there. So these are things you can capture in your camera. Now we have to think about, now we know why, we know the how, what. Now the most important part is the how of photography. Very important are these 5 pillars. Let us know what they are: composition, position, technical aspects, post-processing, and catalog. First of all, we should know the composition part. Why composition? Because in composition, we learn how to place the subject rightly on the grid. Now, what is a grid? Some of the cameras have got a grid like this, or some of them have they don't have the grid. When you don't have the grid, you have to just imagine these 4 lines. And when the lines are intersecting at a point, those are the points where you have to place your subject. There are many more composition aspects, but if you are a beginner photographer, the best one is the grid. This grid is known as the rule of thirds. When we talk about the rule of thirds, it shows that the object or the subject should be placed at any of these 4 intersection points. Now let us learn it in a better way. Now, if you see the rule of thirds, you can see these 4 points. These are the 4 points where they intersect, where the lines intersect. You should try and place your subject in that area itself. Another very common one is the golden spiral. But if you look at the golden spiral, you will see that the human eye tries to focus on the given point, whereas the rest of the image is not so much into focus. But I don't know why this battle is about. Because if you look at the third image, you will see that this picture has used the rule of thirds as well as the golden spiral. But yet it has merged together, and you see that in one picture they have used both the composition rules. There are other things which are important while doing the composition for a picture. We should use leading lines. Now, why leading lines? Because leading lines makes the human eye drawn towards the subject which is there in the picture. The leading lines can take you towards or away from the subject. Now, if you look at this picture, you will see that these tracks are taking you towards the main point where the lines are converging together. So leading lines have a great way of making the picture more dramatic and interesting. It is not that every time the lines have to be straight lines. You can also see that leading lines which are curved also can make the picture more better. Now for this picture, you will notice that there are leading lines. The pillars are all leading us towards the subject, and plus the subject is placed inside a frame. I have used this technique in this picture, which I have clicked at Bhutan. You can see a monk walking towards the monastery. You have the leading lines and you have a framework. So framework is very important. So the next topic we come to is framing. Framing is not possible to do like this. It is a matter of patience, or sometimes even good luck is required. For the second picture, I was just inside a cave, and you can see at these Ellora and Ajanta caves, the darkness and the brightness outside forms a good contrast for a wonderful picture. Here are some more examples of framing. Sometimes there can be a natural frame of a window or a doorway, but at times, this was in Bhutan, But at times, even an ordinary place at like a Mathan station, I saw this framework and I tried to capture my subject within that framework. The next part, we always say that we have to stick to rules, but that is not so. For example, in this, I am not following the rule of thirds. I am not following the rule of golden spiral. My picture, my subject is bang in the middle of the picture. So during this time, we have to keep in mind that sometimes right side and left side balance and symmetry also gives us a good picture, even if your subject is right in the center. If you look at the next picture, which is of the Golden Pagoda at Borivali, you will see that every time we do not have to take a picture right from the front. We can also take it from another angle. So here we come to position. Position plays an important role in composition. You have to develop foreground interest. Every time we should not depend on mid-ground or background interest. We should develop foreground interest. We should learn to place people in the picture, because when we place people in the picture, we get a better idea of the visualizing of the depth. For example, when you have a map, we have something called a scale, which gives an idea of size. Same way, when we put people in the picture, we get an idea of the depth and the uh, size of that place around the subject. We should learn to change angles to make our pictures more interesting. We should do away with the distracting elements. We can do that just as we are looking at the picture. We should keep your pictures simple and at the same time try to explore variations. For example, in this picture, the subject, we have actually clicked a picture from the shoulder side of the subject, and you can also see it as pictured in picture. The other one which I've clicked was at Kumbharwada in Dharavi, where there are many potters and they make pots. But here you can see there is a cat inside the pot. So I've tried to bring some variety by you clicking this picture. For this also you need some patience and you need some good luck. Now in this picture, you can see the foreground. In the foreground, the subject has been placed, and plus I have leading lines. This has been clicked in Bhutan once again. You can see leading lines leading us towards the place where the bridge converges. Here we can see the two images, that is of a woman and the animal. They have become together and we can't understand who is where. Okay, so here we can make our pictures interesting. The third picture is of the ground or the flooring of a museum in Bhaudaji Lad Museum. And here you can see this picture gives us an idea of how our friends met there. We had a conversation about the flooring. So this picture brings back memories of that place, and it also makes the picture interesting because the color combination which we see on the flooring is so interesting. Now we come to the part that is positioning. When we have a picture in front of you, we should learn how to keep the picture, the person or the subject in such a way that it interests the audience. Now look at both the pictures. Here there is a natural framing by the tree, and here we can see the instrument, the color of their costumes and the background makes up for a beautiful picture. This was in Ladakh. As I told you earlier, when we place the persons or we place the people in the picture, it gives us an idea of the depth of the picture. Sometimes we have to place our camera towards the sunlight, and sometimes we have to keep it away from the sunlight. When we keep trying out different ideas, we can get amazing pictures. As I told you, when we have angles changed, we can manipulate the images like I have in the picture to my left. And in the right, you can see we can make use of shadows and silhouette to make your photographs more interesting. Once we have done with the how of photography, we know about why we are clicking. Another important aspect is the technical aspects. There are so many things to keep in mind, but many times a new photographer will not know the technical aspects because this takes time to learn, and this is possible only through practice. So for a newbie like you and me, if you are just learning, what is important is the passion, because the passion for your art will involve the heart in it. And when your heart is involved, you are automatically eager to learn more. And when you are eager to learn more, you will start learning about the technical aspects because you want to make your picture better. Higher ISO means more light, low ISO means less light. Aperture is the size of the opening of your lens, and shutter speed is actually the amount of time in seconds that your shutter is open or shut. So different higher ISO gives us better pictures with light. Okay. So these are all technical aspects which I am not completely aware because I am just a learner. So that is why I'll not go deep into the technical aspects. These will be learned by you as you go more ahead with practice. Now let's go to the next part, that is post-processing. Before post-processing, we should know why post-processing. The world is full of beauty, and there are very few cameras that can capture that beauty as it is in nature. So to capture that vividity and change or differentiation in nature, we have to use post-processing. Post-processing makes our pictures more dramatic. As you can see these two examples, the picture before and after have a lot of difference. When we use post-processing, we do some editing which is based on the light, the white balance. So all these are taken into consideration. Nowadays, it becomes very easy to do it with the help of different apps and tools. The easiest way to do it is to use filters. Filters can be used by the click of a button. It is not necessary that every time we have to have color in our pictures. We can also have a dramatic picture using monochrome or black and white pictures. Few more pictures of post-processing. The first one I have used HDR, which is an app. Okay. The second one I have used a filter, which is present in most of the camera phones or even on your camera. Now, while doing post-processing, it is important not to go overboard. Remember, less is more. Reduce the distractions, use suitable editing apps or tools, and remember to give the final touches. You have to crop the images, but remember, when cropping, do not behead anybody or do not cut off somebody's limb. See that you are cropping it out properly. Another important aspect is saving the raw images. If you're going to showcase your pictures for any exhibition or some competition, you have to have your raw images. Now, if you look at the picture on your right, you will see that very little changes or very little editing has been done, but yet there's so much of difference. So that is the magic of post-processing. There are some post-processing apps which you can use. If you don't want to use it, you can just use the filters present in your phone. I like the post-processing app that is Snapseed, which is very easy to use for anybody. Another aspect, okay, now you have clicked your pictures. Now you have so many pictures, and what do you do of them? You cannot just arrange it like that. You have to have a system. So for that, you have to organize it. Earlier, we had hard copies of the pictures, which you put it in your albums. Now we have digital prints, which you have to put them in the proper folders. It is important to save only the good folders, good pictures, so that you don't have too many pictures. Save the good ones, segregate and name the folders, and you give them some nice, interesting names like Magical Manali, Cool Kashmir, or Rangilo Rajasthan. Once you give your folders the names, your pictures are all saved and kept for eternity. Now, what is photography? Photography is not just about that one shot that we click. It is so much more than that. It is a whole process. Now, what is that process? To me, photography is an art. It is an art of observation to find something interesting in an ordinary situation. I have found that it has little to do with the things around us and everything to do with the way you see the things around us. So photography is not just about one shot. It is a process which we should be able to understand, and that is possible only if you do more of practice. The most important thing is that plan, prepare, and execute. And that is the same for any new thing that we do. For a photographer, you have to be very observant. You have to be able to see the beauty around it, to see the beauty around you. Everything around you is beautiful. It is up to you to capture it. Remember, quality matters, not quantity. You may click 40 pictures, but you may have only 2 good ones, whereas another person may click 4 pictures and have all the four good ones. Learn to cultivate a vision and do not be afraid to explore. It is time to learn, so keep practicing. You, me, they are all work in progress. We are not perfect. That can be done only by practice, practice, and more practice. So, it is the time to tell your story. Do not be afraid. As a parting thought, I would like to leave you with this. Life is like a camera. Just focus on what's important. Capture the good times, develop from the negatives, and if the things don't turn out right, just take another shot. So it is time to click pictures, and for that, you have to have the camera or your phone in your hand. That was the end of my presentation. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our principal madam, Director Education and Principal of Srimati Sulochana Devi Singhania School, Mrs. Revati Srinivasan, for providing me this wonderful platform to come forth and share my passion for photography with everyone around. Thank you so much, my dear audience, for giving me your patient ear. To end this, I would just like to say, stay safe, keep clicking, and most importantly, tell your story. Thank you.
Wow, what a wonderful session. I am Sehaj Arora. Photographs carry so many tales within them. They remind us of moments tucked deep inside our minds. I am sure that this wonderful session will allow all of us to develop our own narratives in the form of talking pictures. However, we should remember to practice, learn, and explore the success guru mantra for following this fascinating passion. I have also realized today that photography is not just about taking pictures, but rather it's about capturing our memories in the form of a story. On that note, thank you once again, ma'am, for sparing your time and capturing our attention with such an interesting talk. And to all our viewers, do join us next week for our terrific Tuesday sessions as we come live once again on the Singhania School YouTube channel, a platform of the Solonians, for the Solonians, and by the Solonians. And before you log out, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so that you never miss an update whenever we come live. Thank you all and have a wonderful day ahead.